there's a whole interesting question about what, because I'm not sure about this. If you have an AI agent, do you actually want it to mimic a full screen human being? Or at least all the time? And there are a lot of people now talking about what you might call multimodal interfaces, where you go, I'm interested in staying in a hotel in Fuerteventura. Can you show me a few that you think I might like? And so, because the mistake that Alexa made, Amazon spent effectively, several $1 billion developing Alexa with the idea that it would become a channel for the ordering of goods and services in the absence of a video component. Now, in the event, if that's all it becomes, it would have been cheaper for them to give everybody an egg timer and a barometer, because 90% of the questions are, what time is it? Set an alarm. And what's the weather like today? And there's an interesting question, which is, effectively what interface is optimal for performing various tasks. My hunch is that Google must be bricking it, because the threat to Google is really an interface shift, isn't it?
Yes.
The big threat to Google to kill the sort of habituation of use and so forth is that people decide they'd rather talk than type. That's a kind of potentially existential threat.
And how these AI chatbots are kind of like a new kind of search engine, because instead of searching this index of websites, they're searching through their training data and then searching through the websites as well at the same time.
I've got a really weird idea for a new business using AI, which is actually where you pay. If you think about it, okay, let's say you're really into kite surfing and you want to go live somewhere windy, okay? Now, if you've got 100 people paying you £100 a month, okay, that's a stack of a lot of money. I mean, particularly if you can live anywhere you like. Right? Now, if you have a PA on the end of a phone or the end of a Zoom call, okay, even better, who is just very, very good at using the various different AI opportunities out there, you could hire that person as your info butler, and it might make more sense to employ a human who's particularly adept at that, okay, than it is to actually use the technology yourself, however good that technology may be.
Sure.
So the question is, do I really want to spend the last sort of few decades of my life as a typist or talking to machines? Or could you argue that you could create an Uber Jeeves out of a human being who had no requirement to be physically present, but with whom you'd interact for, 20 minutes a few times a week? And you'd effectively say, okay, I need you to sort out this thing with my bank account. I need you to talk to so-and-so, so-and-so. You could text them. You could use any medium of exchange you liked. You'd have an occasional Zoom call. They'd come up with suggestions for your hotel in Fuerteventura. Okay. Wouldn't it make more sense? Because this is centaur theory in chess, isn't it? That the best chess player is a human plus a machine. Well, if this is really that powerful, why do we want to skimp on the human component? If it's really that potent? Because I don't need this guy 100% of the time, or woman indeed, okay? Not presupposing. You probably need that person for, I don't know, 20 minutes a day.
Right.
Okay. Now, with 20 minutes a day, they could get on with their life quite a lot of time. They could service a hell of a lot of people that way. They'd also learn from the other people they looked after, who might be people like me. So what I'm saying is, do we actually use this to bring back domestic service as a really lucrative form of employment?
Sorry, I got it.
Because in a sense, is it the best use of my time, when I could be sitting on podcasts or whatever, to actually be there endlessly having to master improvements to that technology? Or do we borrow a bit from Adam Smith and go, look, there's a bit of division of labor here that might be quite helpful, and that being an AI expert on behalf of 100 human beings...
So it's like an AI middleman. Someone who's just very good at using the technology.
An intermediary, I think, was once the phrase they kind of used.
You could also then, as an AI company, start developing AI tools which are designed to not be sort of this really great public-facing, anyone can use this and get...
No. Like, they could be hardcore, pretty
exactly,
specialist.
Like, you've got to know the keywords, you've got to know the commands, but once you learn that language, this AI tool is like
So in the
infinitely more powerful.
1970s, for whatever reason, I mean, I'm old enough to remember this. It was slightly demeaning to be seen typing.
Right. Yeah, well,
you had a
exactly.
typist to do that. Okay. Now, just as Simon Cowell does not have a mobile phone, okay, he has people to do this. My argument is that we have a weird tech fetish around the optimization of efficiency, which basically means the elimination of humanity from every process, because the biggest cost is the wage cost.
Yes.
But just as a hydronic, okay, let's say a JCB made a Navi 100 times more productive, but you still had the Navi, okay? The assumption of the tech world is that you always eliminate the human and the wage cost from everything, and you disintermediate everything. And of course, there's a huge assumption in economics that disintermediation is a wonderful thing. I would argue we will still have estate agents in 100 years' time, because ultimately I want a transaction of that scale to be mediated by a human being. Now, I'll give you an example of that. I was a campaigner for maintaining manned ticket offices at railway stations, because my argument is there are certain functions I want performed by a machine, which is I know exactly the ticket I want and I simply want to buy it with a contactless credit card. But there are people and there are occasions who don't want that. Either they're elderly people who want a human being to say, no, dear, you need the off-peak return. And there are also unusual journeys where I need a human being whom I can trust to say, actually, mate, what I'll do, and the machine will never do this, okay?
Yeah.
Look, I'll sell you the peak single to Dover, and then you can get an off-peak return back from Dover because it's £9 cheaper. And that gives me the confidence to know that the ticket I'm buying is not stupid.
The machines are getting better at doing this.
Well, there's no incentive to make them better.
Well, that's the thing.
There's only the decency of the human being.
Well, but then I wonder if, like, for example, like split ticketing, you can get them on trains.
Yeah, that's true. Those are done not by the railway companies, unsurprisingly. They're done by Trainline.
Who will
promote a split ticket.
Yeah, I guess that's sort of an intermediary machine.